Okay, so now we're going to jump into our first lab. This lab is going to introduce you to the following Azure Services and Technologies, Azure Digital Twins, and Azure Digital Twins Explorer. So in this lab, we're going to explore a pre-built Azure Digital Twins graph using Azure Digital Twins Explorer. Azure Digital Twins Explorer allows us to visualize and interact with our Azure Digital Twins data, and it's all done within the Azure portal. With Azure Digital Twins, you can create and interact with live models of your real-world environments, which can be part of wider IoT solutions. First, you model individual elements as digital twins, then you connect them into a knowledge graph that can respond to live events and be queried for information. So we're going to complete the following steps. We're going to create an Azure Digital Twins instance. We're going to connect it to Azure Digital Twins Explorer. We're going to upload some pre-built models and graph data to construct the sample scenario. Then we're going to explore the scenario graph that's created, make changes to the graph, and then do a little quick review before we end with Lab 1. This is an example of the Azure Digital Twins graph that we'll be working with. It represents a building with 2 floors and 2 rooms. We have floor 0, which contains room 0, and we have floor 1 that contains room 1. So our graph is going to look like this image. So first steps, we need to download the material for our sample graph. So right here, first one, room JSON file, right click it, open it in a new tab. And just so you're aware what this is the model file that represents a room in a building. So here's what we open. You can right click anywhere on the screen, save as, and save it somewhere, find it. And then we have the floor JSON file, and that is a model file that represents a floor in a building. So again, right click, open a new tab, floor, right click anywhere within that and click save as. I did this earlier. And then the building scenario Excel file. This file contains a graph of the room and floor twins and the relationship between them. So I'm going to right click, open this up in a new tab. I'm in Edge, it gives me an option to download the file, which I will. I'm going to save it in the same location. All right, closing that. And just a tip, those files are all actually located in the Azure Digital Twins Explorer repo and GitHub, and you can visit that. The link's here in the lab. And there are other sample files and Explorer code and more. So our first step with working with Azure Digital Twins is to create an Azure Digital Twins instance. After we create that, we can connect it to our Azure Digital Twins Explorer, which we will use with the Azure Digital Twins throughout this lab. So we're going to go ahead and open your portal. Make sure you log in. Some of you are using, majority of you are using your personal account. All right, we're going to create a resource and search for Azure Digital Twins in the search box. Click create. And make sure that you grab the correct subscription. We are going to use the resource group that we created yesterday. Now you want to name your Azure Digital Twin resource. Place mine in West US 2. I don't believe the region will matter, but with this lab and the next lab, we're going to want to stick to the same region, I believe. I think it's critical. And then what is critical though is that you assign yourself the Azure Digital Twins data owner role. To get into that a little more, it's going to give yourself permissions to manage the data within Azure Digital Twin. So it is important. If that is grayed out, then I'm assuming you're working under probably an enterprise or corporate account, and you would need to have someone give you access or assign you as owner. So hopefully you are on your personal account and you can go ahead and assign yourself the owner role. And you will need to do that before completing the rest of this lab. And actually, just another note there, if you can't assign yourself owner, account admin, or a combo of user access, administrator, and contributor will also meet the requirements. So I've set mine up, so I'm going to click review and create. Good, so I'm going to click create. I'm going to deploy. It'll take a few minutes. Okay, so that has deployed. So now I'm going to click go to. Okay, so I am in my Azure Digital Twins resource, and I'm going to up here at the top, click Open Azure Digital Twins Explorer. All right, so the next step is we are going to upload the sample models and graph data that we downloaded to our machine locally. We're going to upload those files into our Azure Digital Twins Explorer. And this is actually going to define the vocabulary for our environment. And it'll create custom models that describe the types of entities that exist in our environment. Each of the models is written in a language called JSON LD, which is actually called Digital Twin Definition Language, DTDL. Each model describes a single type of entity in terms of its properties, telemetry, relationships, and components. And later, you'll use these models as the basis for digital twins that represent specific instances of these types. So typically, when you create a model, you'll complete 3 steps. You'd write the model definition, which in this quick start, that step's already done. You're going to validate it to make sure the syntax is accurate. In this lab, the step's already done as well as part of the sample solution. And then you would upload those models to your Azure Digital Twins instance. For this quick start, the model files are already written and validated, and they're included with the solution that we downloaded to our machine locally earlier. So in this section, we're going to upload 2 of those pre-written models to our instance to define the components of a building environment. which will be the floor and the. We're going to go ahead and upload files. Models. Here we're going to click Upload a Model. Select both of them, the floor and the files. They were uploaded successfully. Right, now we're going to view the models. Both of them, the code behind the floor. I'm going to click model. See that we have we'll view property. So we just looked at the DTDL code behind. And now that the models have been uploaded to our Azure Digital Twins instance, we can add digital twins based on the model definitions. And the digital twins represents the actual entities within your business environment. They can be things like sensors on a farm, lights in a car, or in this lab, rooms on a building floor. You can create many twins of any given model type, such as multiple rooms that all use the room model. You connect them with relationships into a twin graph that represents the full environment. We just uploaded pre-created twins that are connected into a pre-created graph. The graph contains the 2 floors and 2 rooms connected in the following layout. Floor 0 contains room 0, floor 1 contains. So now we're going to import the graph. So here we're going to click Import Graph. Building scenario. Import that. Then make sure you save. Right, we have import successful. 4 twins were imported, 2 relationships were imported. And it's important that you see that import successful notification before you move on. Now to see the graph, we're going to select Run Query. Oh yeah, we see our floor 1 and our floor 0. And the circle graph nodes represent digital twins, and the line represents relationships. Floor 0, twin contains room 0, and floor 1, twin contains. And if you're using a mouse, you can actually click and drag in the graph to move these around. Figure your view. So now we can click on one of the twins to see a list of its properties and values in the Twin Properties panel. I'm going to click on 0. Fun. All right, so we see its properties, the humidity for the room and the temperature for the room. A little warmer. Humidity is hot in there, 60. There's 80. Not want to be in room 1. Toasty. So next we're going to query our graph. So in Azure Digital Twins, you can query your twin graph to answer questions about your environment and it uses SQL-style Azure Digital Twins query language. So one way to query the twins in your graph is by their properties. You can query based on properties that help answer questions about your environment. So for example, you could find outliers in your environment that might need attention. So we're going to run a query to answer the question of how many twins in our environment have a temperature above 75. That's going to tell us it's a little warm. Right. A query. There it's showing us room 1, 80. And the other room 0 did not show up because its temperature was colder than 75. Whereas room 1 has a temperature of 80. And the floor twins don't have a temperature property, so they are not showing up, just the room. Other comparison operators that you could use, less than, greater than, equal, or not equal, they're also supported within the query. If you like, you could try plugging those operators in to query different results. In a fully connected Azure Digital Twins solution, the twins in your graph can receive live updates from real IoT devices and update their properties to stay synchronized with your real-world environment. You can also manually set the properties of the twins in your graph using Azure Digital Twins Explorer or another development interface like the APIs or Azure CLI. So keep it easy, we're going to use Azure Digital Twins Explorer here to manually set the temperature of room 0 to 76 degrees. The first I'm going to rerun the query to grab all of the digital twins. Select all digital twins. And then I'm going to select room 0 to bring up its properties list in the twins panel, the twin properties panel. And the properties in this list are editable. Select the temperature value of 70, and we're going to increase the temperature to 76. Both of our rooms are hot. So you click Save. And then it's giving us confirmation, watch information. Value is now 76 degrees for all. Now I'm going to query to see the results. I'm going to select all from digital twins where the temperature is greater than 75. And now it's showing me both rooms, room 1, which is 80, and room 0, which is 76. All right, so that is it. So what we learned, we created an Azure Digital Twins instance. We used Azure Digital Twins Explorer to populate it with a sample scenario. And then we explored the graph by using the query to answer a question about our scenario, by editing the properties on the digital twin, and then by running the query again to see how the answers changed as a result of our update. So we were able to see how Azure Digital Twins graph can answer questions about your environment, even as the environment continues to change. So in this, just as a note, we made the temperature changes manually, but usually in Azure Digital Twins, it's connected to a Digital Twins real IoT device or devices, so they would receive the updates automatically based on the telemetry data. So in that way, you can build a live graph that always reflects the real state of your environment. And you can use queries to get information about what's happening in your environment in real time. That is it for the first lab.